it would be time to open the meeting. So with that, if you would please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and then remain standing for a prayer.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we have Pastor Henry Binkham with us this morning from Our Redeemer Lutheran Church. Reverend.
Let us pray. Eternal Father, as we approach the season of Lent, let us first be reminded that Christ suffered and died for our sins and rose to life, so we may have life in you. Amen. As we pray for our community, we give you thanks for your eternal promises to care for your people. We give you thanks for your hand of protection for the emergency crews who contained the explosion at Steffen's Auto Parts from the gas leak, and those who living near the area. We continue to pray for the Kansas gas workers and those who may still be displaced from their homes and for the affected businesses. We beg you to continue to shelter us from both man and natural calamities. Grant continual safety to all law enforcement, fire, emergency, healthcare professionals, and they serve those people, and to keep your people safe as they serve and protect others in their line of duty. We ask you for continual blessings for all citizens, services, industries who work together and support and strengthen our county. We ask for the grace to protect industry, commerce, care centers and hospitals, schools and churches in and around our community. We pray for all directors, staff, and the many county workers who carry out their work as they serve the well-being of your people. And so we commend to you, Father, the leaders and administrators of Reno County, especially the commissioners Don Borger, Ron Hertz, Randy Parks, Richard Wingard, and Ron Vincent. Grant them wisdom as they seek to enact fair decisions and productive regulations for the betterment of the people to whom they serve. Guide these gathered this morning in their work to enable your people, our community, businesses to prosper, and your name be glorified through them. Give us eyes to see your life-giving spirit entrusted to us. Bless and guard our hearts and minds through Jesus Christ our Lord, who lives and reigns with you and the Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. I'd like to welcome everybody here this morning. And as a special welcome to those of you who are here on behalf of the college football team. And we have a proclamation we'd like to read. If I can now, I'll read it. Whereas the number 3 ranked Hutchinson Community College Blue Dragons defeated the number 1 ranked Iowa Western Community College team 28-23 in the title game in Canyon, Texas on Wednesday, December 18th, 2024, to earn the second national championship, their second national championship, And whereas the Blue Dragons finished the season with a record of 11-1, and whereas the following individuals received special accolades at the national championship game or soon after for their successful season. Freshman return specialist Cordell Goolsby, most valuable player. Wayman Jordan, National Player of the Year. Coach Drew Dallas was named the American Community College Football Coaches Association Coach of the Year. And whereas 24 Blue Dragon football players have signed with a 4-year program for the next year. And now, therefore, the Board of County Commissioners of Reno County, Kansas do hereby recognize all players, coaches, and support staff of the Hutchinson Blue Dragons football team for achieving their victory, and calls upon all citizens of Reno County, Kansas to observe February 26, 2025 as HCC Football Team Appreciation Day. And then our signatures at the end. I'm yeah. Yes, that's the way I thought it was. And we will have this. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for a job well done, guys.
Appreciate it.
It's always good when things work out like this.
You are friend.
Yes, she'll tell us.
Very good. And then turn that around and you could take it from him. All right. So, I guess I get to go first and then let these guys go. Yep. Hold on. All righty. 1, 2, 4, 3. Thank you. And their turn.
Go, ready? 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Last one. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Back there. Seeing this team. Yeah.
Thank you. We have some other people from the college here. If some of the administration of the college would like to make a statement, fine, at this time. And if not, we will proceed with the meeting.
Well, once again, thank you. And obviously, you know, winning a championship's a lot of hard work. And I appreciate all our players and coaches. Honored to have a couple of our coaches here today. And most of our players are in class this morning. So we got one of them that is lucky enough to not have an 8 or a 9 o'clock Wednesday class. So Josh came over with us to represent our team. But, you know, it's a accumulation of all the hard work that they put in. And it's an honor to, you know, achieve this proclamation and obviously win that championship game there this past December. It's been a whirlwind since then, but we're looking forward to, you know, working hard this off season and trying to do it again. And just appreciate all your support, our administration that's here today, Coach Gooch, our athletic director, Dr. Paramore, our president, and 2 assistant ADs, Steve Carpenter, Billy Watson. You know, that's winning's hard, and it takes a lot of people to do it. And so just appreciate all the support from our school, but certainly our community as well. And it's an honor to bring a championship back to Hutchinson. And like I said, it takes everybody to do it and be successful. So it's an honor to bring it back here and keep that trophy here for the rest of the time. So I appreciate it. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Would anybody else from the college like to speak?
I don't know how you can recap that.
Good enough. Good enough. Well, hey, thank you. And again, for bringing this honor to Reno County and our schools here. Appreciate it, guys.
Pleasure.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is public comment on items not on the agenda. Does anybody here have comments on something not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 5 on the agenda, determining additions and revisions to the agenda. I am told that we have one individual who is sick today and will not be able to make a presentation on the business side of the agenda. 7F, it would be the correct one that will be scratched from the agenda. And we will need to, I'm told we will need to add an executive session of about 30 minutes in addition to the executive session already on the agenda.
Yes, Chairman, thank you. There'll be a 10B would be an executive session for matters protected by attorney-client privilege.
So we're going to have a 10B. Okay, with that, is there anything from the board, anybody on the board on consent agenda or agenda items that you need to look at, or? Well, hearing none, I'd
On consent agenda 6, are we voting on these or?
yes.
Yeah, on the agreement with Prairie Dunes.
Where are we at?
Consent ag-
I think he's talking about agenda, yeah, yes.
What's that?
Are you asking to move that to the business agenda, I think?
No, I mean, I was wanting to, see if, is that coming up with this agenda?
So, it's on consent. I guess at this point, if you want to close, if you want to vote, I don't know, if you want to add that to business on the agenda, or just ask questions next, we can wrap up the agenda and move to consent.
Yeah, there's some questions that I'd like to ask on that. I mean, I didn't know if you're lumping everything in 6 on the consent agenda together to vote on.
Yes,
In one motion.
but
One
we
motion.
can discuss it once we
Yeah,
get a motion to vote.
vote.
We can discuss it before then,
Yeah.
before we do
Yeah,
vote. It's
that's-
open. Am I not correct?
Yeah. If you want, if you're not changing your agenda, then you go to consent, you can discuss consent items before you vote on it.
All right. So if we're not moving it, let's, I'd honor a motion to pass the consent agenda as written.
I'll motion to pass the consent agenda as read.
Second somewhere?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. I would now open it for discussion. And Ron, what
Yeah,
were you wanting to discuss?
Well, on the agreement with Prairie Dunes, I guess that's for the $100,000 that they're asking for. I'm not quite ready on that. I've been talking to some people in the district, and I would like to have a little more time to get a hold of some more of them, see how they feel on this. I'm getting some mixed feelings on giving that money from the constituencies in District 3.
You guys can pull that and put it on business and then
Yeah.
discuss it, and then if you wanted to vote on that.
That might be the best way to do it.
Yeah.
For consent, if it's not unanimous, you probably need to pull it, so if Commissioner
Yes.
Vincent's not ready, it needs to be
All right.
moved.
All right, so then with that, we're taking item 6C off the, or,
Already got a motion.
We've already got
I
it.
would
Mr. Chairman, I would move to move to amend the motion to approve the consent agenda by taking off for 6C and approving the balance.
I'd second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Cindy, can you help us out with the roll call?
Commissioner Parks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vincent,
Yes.
Commissioner Winger,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst,
Yes.
Commissioner Bogner.
Yes. So that moves 6C to 7H.
Yeah, and that's what we've done in the past quarters. You've amended the motion, now you should vote on the motion. That's what we've always done. So,
As amended.
yeah.
Okay, so now we got the original motion.
As amended.
As amended. All right, Cindy, again, thank you. And thank you for keeping me straight.
Commissioner Parks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vincent,
Yes.
Commissioner Winger,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst,
Yes.
Commissioner Bogner.
Yes. All right, that puts us at business items. And business item 7A is asking Stratica Stratica is going to have an ask. We have a member of their group that has a presentation, correct? Please state your name and for the record, and we'll go from there.
My name is Rachel Terry. I'm the director of Stratica. And first, I actually brought.
Salt Lake this morning, huh? Didn't know you was a Cal, Richard, did you?
That was one of the things we always enjoyed when we went down in grade school umpteen years ago was to
None of us
get
knew
some
any
salt to
better.
lick.
None of us knew any better.
There was
did
salt
we?
back then?
It was forming then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And once again, my name is Rachel Terry. I'm the director of Stratica. And I'm really delighted to stand here before you as a director and share some exciting updates and requests. First, let me express my gratitude for the incredible support we have received from the community over the past year. We saw remarkable growth in 2024, including adding 2 new exhibits and a new tour, while experiencing a significant increase in visitors and enhancing our community engagement. Now, as we continue to expand and innovate, I am thrilled to announce that this summer, we will also be launching our new virtual reality exhibit. This groundbreaking edition will offer a unique way to experience the history and wonders of our underground world, enriching our educational offerings and positioning Stratica as a leader in museum technology. However, our journey doesn't end here. We are currently in the process of finalizing our application for Smithsonian affiliation, a prestigious recognition that would elevate our museum status and bring even more opportunities to our community. Can you just imagine what that would do for tourism, having 2 world-class Smithsonian affiliate museums here in Hutchinson, Kansas? Now, becoming a Smithsonian affiliate museum would bring numerous benefits to our community. It would enhance our reputation and attract more visitors, not just from our local area, but from around the world. This increase in tourism would stimulate the local economy, benefiting hotels, restaurants, and other businesses. Additionally, it would provide our community with access to a wealth of resources from the Smithsonian Institution, including traveling exhibits, educational programs, and the use of their expert knowledge. This affiliation would also create opportunities for our local schools and educators to collaborate with Smithsonian scholars, enriching the educational experience of our students. But to strengthen our application for Smithsonian affiliation, we are kindly asked for continued support and assistance. Specifically, we are seeking recommendation letters from the community members and local leaders who believe in our mission and the value we bring to the region. Your endorsements can significantly impact our chances of achieving this prestigious status, which would open new doors for collaborations, grants, and educational programs. Now, it's important to highlight that Stradica is more than just a museum. We're also a vital part of our community's identity and economy. According to the 2023 Economic Impact Report, we contribute over $2 million annually to the local community through tourism, with 80% of our visitors coming from outside the state. This substantial contribution supports local businesses, creates jobs, and enhances the overall quality of Hutchinson. Our efforts have not gone unnoticed, as Stradica is rated the top museum in Hutchinson, the top museum in Kansas, and ranks in the top 10% of attractions worldwide based on TripAdvisor polls. These accolades are a testament to the hard work and dedication of our staff, volunteers, and supporters. Moreover, as we look to the future, we need your ongoing support more than ever. Whether through volunteering, attending our events, becoming a member, donating to our mission, or spreading the word about our initiatives, your involvement is crucial to our continued success. Stradica's impact extends beyond our exhibits. We are a beacon of education, culture, and community pride. So I'd like to thank each and every one of you for your support, and together we can continue to make Stradica a premier destination for visitors from around the world and a cornerstone of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And I guess at this point we would honor a motion for a letter of support for the museum.
I do that. I'll motion that we support them in a letter.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? And then
How will that be marketed? I'm just curious. If you get affiliated with Smithsonian, how do they market that differently to help you?
So we would be on all of their materials. Then we would also have an affiliation where we get to be a part of like their marketing. We'll get to go out to all of the different museums and their members.
That's cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Do they charge you for that?
There is a fee for it, yes.
But she's not asking us for money.
We have not. We have that part covered. We have to get approved first.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I was at an event downtown on a third Thursday, and I met a couple that were from Maryland. And I said, "What brought you to Hutch?" And they said, "Well, we wanted to go to Stradica, the Cosmosphere, the old district downtown, the antique district." And they listed off about 5 things, but Stradica was number 1. And I thought, man, you came all the way from Maryland to come to Little Hutch and Reno County and see, go to these places that we have. And we take them for granted, I think,
Yeah.
being from here. But it's cool to see, because they had like 3 little kids, and they were just as excited as they could be. So
Yes.
appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
Well, and like Richard says, we tend to take things in our own backyard for granted because we grew up with them. And the reality is the museums and places that he mentioned are unique to the world. And we have them here in Hutchinson. So the extra help you would get and recognition you would get will help the county and stuff. So if there aren't any further comments,
I might make one
A few years ago, we had a board meeting here in Hutchinson from people from around the state. And that was one of the tours that we took, was down to Stratica, and they all really enjoyed it.
Cool. I love hearing those stories.
Yeah. Well, it means you're succeeding. So, anybody else, or is it time to vote and get this lady your letter? Cindy, please.
Thank you.
Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Commissioner Vincent?
Yes.
Commissioner Winger?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst?
Yes.
Commissioner Bogner?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
And I think we anticipated a little.
Continue doing the good work.
Yeah. All right, next item on our agenda is item 7B, Reno County
clicker. Ooh, it's up here.
Entrepreneurial Ecosystem Partnership. So name and for the record and
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Don. I'm Jackson Swear. I'm the executive director for Startup Hutch. And we're one of the key partners for the Reno County Entrepreneurship Ecosystem Partnership. I want to thank the commission and Randy and all the staff today, and also my audience here. I've got a couple folks here from the partnership as well. I do want to mention something up front that's maybe been in the news that maybe all of you have seen and maybe some of you haven't. So just to do a little level setting here, I'm about to move on from Startup Hutch. I am going to be leaving in April and taking on a new venture related to the Hutch Tribune, which you may have read about in the Hutch Tribune earlier last week. So I'm very excited about that. And we do currently have, my position is already posted up. So we're looking for who's going to replace me and continue this work forward. So as we talk about this and we're talking about the next 5-year action plan, know that this is based on a lot of work that we've been doing for the past 8 years, but it's probably not going to be me executing on this plan when we're going forward. Despite that, I'm happy to sort of share with you our process and share with you this plan. I'm going to start at kind of a high level, then we'll get into a little bit of history, and then get down into the weeds a little bit, but not too deep. Okay, so here's our vision. Why are we doing this? Why do we spend our time working on entrepreneurship? We're partners coming together, and we try to include everyone from like economic development, so us in the chamber, community development, organizations like the Community Foundation, our financial institution partners, other business services like insurance agents, lenders. I already mentioned the financial institution people. They're important. And attorneys, accountants, people like that, and entrepreneurs themselves. So we've tried to convene a group of people who represent lots of different parts of the ecosystem. And we're doing all of this in service of building a thriving economy, meaning there's opportunities for everybody to start businesses and build wealth for their family. And also that those businesses are creating meaningful work for people who aren't going to go out and be entrepreneurs. Because, of course, we know everybody isn't going to start a business. Here's our mission. How are we doing that work? I just want to kind of highlight 3 aspects of this. We work together, we celebrate our wins, and we grow the economy. That's what I think this group is all about. And so then we've been taking a look at what do we need to do in order to accomplish this mission. And we did a kind of a long strategic planning process over the course of the year of late 2023, even all the way through 2024. And that was how we arrived at this plan. There are 4 kind of guiding principles to the plan, and this came out of, this really came from our consultant. We had done a lot of stakeholder meetings with different groups who talked about different areas, topics within the entrepreneurship ecosystem. And these were 4 themes that kept coming up in all the meetings. So our consultant said, we can either have one of these in under every single strategy, or we can try to pull these things out and call these things guiding principles. So that's what we did. You can see here, promote transparency. We want to try to be open and try to be pretty clear about what we're doing. That's part of what we're doing here today. And we also want to try to enhance the incentives that are available to people and make sure that people know what is available and out there. So this is transparency both for the entrepreneurs and for the policymakers, let's say. Embrace and foster diversity. Now, I just want to pause for a moment to say that diversity is a word that's probably been in the news quite a lot. So let's be clear and understand what we mean here. We're talking about lots of different kinds of diversity here, the types of businesses that we have, all the different people in our community. So when you read this, understand that we're talking about a pretty big picture about what that means, and that we do think that the diversity in our local economy, all of the different kinds of businesses that we have and the different people that we have in Reno County is one of our greatest strengths and our assets. So just to jump down to the last one, leverage natural resources and assets is one of the other guiding principles. We want to try to build upon what we have in our community and look to leverage our assets. That is in contrast to looking at what we're missing and thinking about what our flaws are and what our problems are. So that reflects this kind of an attitude and orientation of the work. The final thing here is to meet people where they're at, and this is important to us because we know that not every entrepreneur wants to come into the office and take a meeting with somebody in a suit. Some people are going to feel more comfortable talking to their insurance agent about something like this. Somebody, maybe their commercial lender, maybe just their friend who is another business owner. And so we want to try to create lots of different opportunities for people to connect into our network. That's one of our core principles. All right, now a little bit of history. And I'll try to go through this because I know this is maybe not the most exciting part, but I think it's important. And I do know we've got a couple of newer commissioners on the commission, so this is a little bit more for you guys. So for those of you who've been around for longer, my apologies for the rehash. But in 2017 through 2019, there was a group formed called the Reno County Entrepreneurship Task Force, and that group put together a plan, which was the 2020 through 2024 action plan that we've just completed. And there was a lot of survey work, some experimentation done during that time. There was a town hall. So that all led to the development of the plan that we've just finished. 2020 saw the beginning of that plan where we rebranded as Startup Hutch, and I was hired as the Entrepreneur Navigator. We began some new events then, but you'll recall that there were some other things going on in 2020 as well that might have disrupted somewhat what our plans were. And you see in 2021, we took a step back and did some reevaluation of what the needs were coming out of the pandemic. What does it look like? What did we need to do? We kind of recognized pretty quickly that what we thought we needed to do in 2019 might have changed by 2021. So then in 2022, we refocused and we re-strengthened. We tried to gather some more resources, doubled down on the Entrepreneur Navigator idea, and made a core choice not to hire another person within the organization to focus on just marketing and continue a relationship with BauerCom to market the ecosystem. In 2023, we really dug into this diagnosis and engagement. We knew we were coming toward the end of the plan, and we had an opportunity through a partnership with the Kansas Leadership Center and the Kauffman Foundation to bring the Heartland Together program here, which was an initiative that did some diagnosis events and then a 3-day leadership development and entrepreneurship ecosystem development sort of joint event that had 20 individuals participating in it from Reno County. Out of that, we saw a number of different kinds of experiments. We tried a few things. For example, a peer mentoring program that you'll see makes its way into the action plan to be done later. 2024, we really spent some time analyzing all of that and enhancing our plans and thinking about what we were going to do into the future. Just want to call attention to a few of our biggest accomplishments. And this is the point where I'll just sort of shamelessly plug that we've been winning awards from Network Kansas for this work. We really are one of the premier rural entrepreneurship service organizations in the state of Kansas and maybe in the entire country. I think it can be hard to see that sometimes when you're on the ground here in Reno County. But I hear from outside of our organization, the people that I work with and partners are very impressed with what we do. And that is a lot to do, not with just, that sounds like I'm patting myself on the back. I've been in charge of it, and I am a little bit, let's be honest. But really, this is about all the partnerships that we have built. That's the thing that impresses people so much, is how well we all collaborate. In most other communities, you don't have funding partnerships with the county and the city and philanthropic partnerships working together. In most other counties, if you have an entrepreneurship organization and the local chamber, they don't get along. In fact, they actively fight against each other rather than actively working together. So this collaboration that we've done is a real accomplishment. Also, I think that we've done a great job with strategic communications, and we're looking to build upon this as well. This is a little, not in the plan, but just kind of in the weeds. We're transitioning to a new client relationship tool so that we can have even better tracking of our clients and our communications with them. Definitely want to plug here the Hot Seat podcast, which has been a great effort. And there's a sort of local podcast network, Salt City Sound, so there's a number of local podcasts. There's my shameless plug for Christopher. And then the last thing, mentoring. So I just wanted to call attention here to the fact that we've got some great partners in SCORE, Network Kansas, and the Small Business Development Center out of Wichita. And we've been able to bring programs like the JUMP program, which is called Entrepreneur Business Basics, and this peer mentoring model, really trying to help people get access to the resources that they need and just people to talk to, which is often one of the most important things. Entrepreneurship can be very lonely. All right, so let's get into the plan a little bit here. And I'm not going to dive deep into all of the action steps for each one of these goals, but I did want to call out each of the top level goals, and then you have in your packet all of the additional action steps as well. So navigation, we want to continue this work with the Entrepreneur Navigator, but also think about trying to find other ways to create on-ramps into the system. So how do we make sure that we're partnering with our financial institutions, insurance agents, accountants, those folks? How do we focus on expanding our existing businesses? This is a category we want to make sure that we don't just look at startups, but we look at our existing businesses that are kind of small businesses, let's say, and how do we help them grow, add employees? We know that somebody going from 2 to 4 employees, doubling and that kind, if we do that over and over and over again, it creates a lot of good jobs in our community. That's a key partnership with the Chamber. So want to call out Greater Hutch, and Lauren Storm is definitely going to be involved in that work. Youth and under-resourced startups, we've grouped together a couple of different groups of people that aren't exactly the same but have similar challenges, where we want to try to inspire people who maybe aren't quite ready to be entrepreneurs yet, whether that's somebody who's maybe a high school senior or somebody going to the junior college, or if maybe that's somebody who's got an idea but they need to work on their credit and they need to save up some money before they'd be able to go to the bank and really launch off into business. For kind of both of those groups of people, how do we make sure that we've got programming that works for them, that inspires them to be an entrepreneur at some point in the future while acknowledging that maybe they're not quite ready? So we're looking at different strategies for that. Fourth is collaborative entrepreneurial supports. This is really the one about big partnerships. This is regional partnerships, statewide partners, and that's something that I've worked on a lot in the past couple of years, trying to strengthen relationships with other partners to look at different potential sources of funding. Some of those things come and go, different programs and grantors change their policies and priorities. So for one example, we were really cultivating a relationship with the Kauffman Foundation because they fund a lot of entrepreneurship work in what they call the Heartland region, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, and Iowa. But then most recently, they've done a big kind of pivot of their internal philanthropy, and they're really wanting to focus on the Kansas City metro area as their top priority for the moment. So that's great for them. It means they're probably not going to give us any money in the next couple of years, but we do want to maintain those relationships because I expect they might change their priorities again, as philanthropic funders are wont to do. So anyway, so just talking a little bit about that. We have done a great job, I think, in Reno County of creating a lot of different relationships with different funders and looking for more ways to continue to do that. Finally is just business transitions. We keep this one as a separate category because we think it's so important to the local economy. There are a lot of great going concerns in Reno County that have aging business owners, let's say, who do not have clear succession plans for their businesses. Maybe their kids have gone away, they don't want to come back to run those businesses, is often the case there. So I have identified that really starting all the way back in 2017 through 2019 as a big shift in our local economy, and we want to make sure that we're cultivating people to be able to buy those businesses. We've had some good success with that so far, I will say. We had a couple of graduates from our first cohort of Entrepreneur Business Basics who were thinking about a couple of different kinds of businesses, and we said, hey, maybe we can connect you with somebody else who already has that kind of business and is thinking of selling in the next year or two. And we have been able to facilitate a couple of those transitions. Although I always say to people, there's no promises there. So when people come to me and they say they want to sell their business, I'm not promising you I can find you a buyer either. One final thing on this slide. Just want to make the point that the short-term action steps here were defined as something that we were going to try to accomplish within the next 3 years, but should sort of start on right now. And the 5-year long-term goals were more long-term by the end of the plan. So when you see these things, know that as somebody else is going to be coming in and jumping off into these programs, this is a list of things to work on, but there's not an expectation that they're all going to get done right away. How are we going to know whether we've been successful? These are a few of the metrics that we first started to look at. So how do we make sure that we're being representative of the population, looking at some demographic things, but I know this group will be especially interested to see that we are meeting with clients representative of different areas of the county. And so that's something that we're hoping to get a little bit clearer data on through our better client relationship management tool. I do know, though, that in Q3 and Q4 of 2024, I ran the numbers for that, and what we had data for addresses, which is a little bit hit and miss, we were overrepresented in 67501, about on the nose in the rest of Reno County, and underrepresented in 67502. So that's what the last year was like. I'll say, of course, there are fewer people out in the zip codes out around the county, so that is represent a smaller percentage of the work. But we have had a couple of projects come through out in the smaller towns in the county, notably the Carolyn's Essen House transition out in Arlington, and another food-based business out that direction as well. And I'm working on the guy in Pretty Prairie Run. All right, let's, oh yes, that's just the final thing here I want to call attention to is we want to exceed the number of dollars that we've loaned out and associated matching amounts for 2020 through 2024. So what does that mean? The goal was, for their previous plan, was to loan out $200,000 a year, every year for the 5-year plan, to loan out a total of $1 million through our loan funds. So I don't have the number right in front of me, but it's about 1.4 million is what we loaned out over that 5-year period. And the total amount leveraged when you include the matching loans is a little over 5 million. So we were successful in attracting investment into Reno County. And those loan funds do allow projects to happen that wouldn't otherwise be able to happen. And I can tell you that because I know that there are projects that did happen that didn't use our loan funds that we helped work on, but then the bankers said, oh yeah, that's fine, I'll just take all of that deal. So that's good for us when that happens as well. But just know that that's not even all of the economic activity that we worked on. Okay. You probably heard from me enough, so I'm going to try to wrap it up here. But I do want to thank all of our partners who contributed to this and speak just a moment again to the process. So I want to shout out Carrie Mayhew from the Hutchinson Community Foundation, who did a lot of work to help convene different stakeholders, trying to get people who didn't always come to the didn't always come to the partnership meetings, but who had an important perspective to share on different topics. And that led to 6 or 7 meetings and then a couple of follow-up group meetings that she facilitated before we handed it off to our consultant to really try to consolidate that. And then I also want to thank everybody who participated in that Heartland Together process, tried some experiments that led into the plan. My board of directors, who spent an entire meeting just going through what we had for the plan and helping us prioritize and determine what was feasible and what was not. And then I just want to remind us finally in closing that Startup Hutch has really built itself around this ecosystem model. This partnership is the ecosystem itself, and that is what is important. And there is an opportunity now, as we're moving into the next phase of the action plan, for more people to get involved in that RC group. So for people listening, people that you all know on the commission who might be interested in plugging into that work, whether they are entrepreneurs themselves, they work in some sort of business that serves other businesses, we're hoping to get more people to plug in at this phase of the process. And I know from having done this kind of strategic planning work at organizations through the years that sometimes the planning part is not the part that people really want to dive in on. They kind of want to, sometimes we get the GSD people, if you will. And I won't say that out loud for you guys, but maybe they get stuff done, people. And sometimes they want to plug in at this phase in the process. And this would be a good time. That's all I'm going to say about that. Okay. Oh, sorry, I had one final thank you. I want to thank DJ Gearing from Gearing Health Strategies and GeoSolutions. Was our consultant who helped us sort of compile all the plan, and do want to give him some credit. We dumped a lot of information on him from a bunch of meetings and kind of said, here, kind of make sense of this for us, and he did a good job. You may remember DJ is a former health department employee, a data analyst, and a real sharp dude. So. Questions?
Yeah, Jackson, I want to thank you for all the work you've done the last few years. We've had a lot of conversations between us and serve on some same boards and so forth. I think you've done such a great job with relationship building to let others and be able to. The Ewing Kaufman Foundation is quite a feather, I think, to be involved with them, and maybe you can get them straightened back out to serve the rest of us, okay?
Well, I've certainly put the word in.
But anyway, I think that's such an important process of that. I would, for the next person coming in, I would suggest that in the goal section with regards to item 3 on youth, that there's a tremendous, and it wasn't mentioned in your other brochures that I looked, is that you relay to that new person coming in that there's 5 schools out here that have FFA programs. I know I've reviewed my old FFA books and to see what has happened over those 4 years when I was in high school. They are not only involved in food production, but they're involved in welding and woodworking and a lot of these things, as well as the leadership training that the kids come out of FFA with, that I think that should be an integral part of a group that you consider and speak with these FFA advisors.
I think that's sound advice, Ron. I think trying to get the rural kids who are plugged in but want to be entrepreneurial into the system, that seems like that would be a good partner.
Yeah. So anyway, I just want to thank you for your work.
Thank you, Ron. I appreciate it. And thank you as well. Oh, and I will say, Ron, we need to talk about SCAD a little bit too, but we can talk about that.
You'll still be there.
We'll work that. We'll work that out. We'll work that out. I've got some ideas.
Anything else? Discussion, questions for Jackson? Well, thank you, Jackson.
Yeah, thank you all again. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you coming and sharing. That brings us to item 7C, and that would be a update from Cox Communications. If you would, Megan.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Megan Bottenberg. I am Director of Government Affairs for Cox Communications here in Kansas, and I've worked with Randy for many years, and I've always appreciated his guidance and his leadership, and I appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you all here today. The weather finally cooperated for me to make the 2.5-hour drive, and so I was happy to do that this morning. And knock on wood, we don't have any more 14 inches of snow coming ahead of us here, right? But again, thank you for the opportunity today. I wanted to give you guys a brief update. It kind of doesn't look brief initially, but it will be brief update on Cox's commitment to Reno County. Because I know, let's face it, broadband is really the hot topic right now throughout our entire communities, throughout the entire state. There's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. So want to share with you just a little bit about Cox and what we're doing here in Reno County. try that. If you don't know, and this will be very brief, the history of Cox Enterprises. So Cox Communications is part of a larger enterprise. It's called Cox Enterprises. It was actually started by a former presidential candidate, Governor James M. Cox from Ohio. He was also a farmer, governor, as well as a congressman, U.S. congressman. But one thing to note on this, we celebrated our 125th anniversary last year. This demonstrates that we have a long history, and we don't have any plans of going anywhere. We are strong. We are a strong company. And what that brings, and I'll demonstrate that in the next few slides, is how we're able to leverage what we have throughout our whole enterprise to you right here in Hutchinson, Nickerson, and Reno County. Again, we are still actually privately owned. We are a family-owned company, so the generations of Governor James M. Cox still owns and leads our company. We operate in 15 different countries. We have $22 billion in annual revenue. Again, this might not mean much here, but what it does allow us is to bring solutions to Hutchinson, to Nickerson, and the areas that we serve in Reno County. We are not just a tech company, we are an innovative solutions company. So oftentimes what you may hear is that Cox is, oh yeah, Cox cable, broadband, phone service. We offer so much more. We try and use, again, leveraging all of our different companies within Cox Enterprises. So you can see here we have Cox Communications, which provides connectivity. We actually also own Cox Automotive. So 4 out of every 5 vehicles that are currently on the road today have been what we call touched by a Cox Automotive company. So Kelley Blue Book, Mannheim Auto Auction, Customer Resource Solutions. We are also getting into the EV power battery business. So a lot of different opportunities, but what it brings to you all and brings to Cox business customers, so business customers right here in Hutchinson and other areas, as well as our residential customers, and even to our government entities, is that a lot of the solutions that we put in place for our companies, we're able to offer to you. So for one example, obviously connectivity, as you know, fiber, we are a fiber-powered network, but also Cox Automotive mobility. What a lot of folks don't know is that, so for Mannheim Auto Auctions, we have hundreds of vehicles every day for the dealers to look at. And what we found is that sometimes we can't just go and look for one vehicle based on the number. We needed something that can help us pinpoint using our technology and our innovation to go find that vehicle easier. So now we offer fleet management solutions, and we offer that to government entities. Again, bringing and leveraging a lot of our innovative solutions that we use for our own companies and our other tech companies offer, we're able to bring that to you directly. And we'll get into that more as well. Again, we may be considered a big company, but a lot of our assets that we have, we're able to leverage for your benefit. We are creating a connected future here at Cox Communications itself, from Cox Business, Cox Media, providing multiple different products, and I'll have an overview of that as well. But we are the largest private broadband provider in the U.S. We are also the largest broadband provider here in Kansas. We have nearly 11,000 miles of fiber throughout the entire state. Again, growing nationwide, we want to be sure that we are reliable. We continue to look at our network, making sure it's reliable, that when there's an outage, we're able to address it immediately. IT support, again, high quality fiber and an expansive reach. But one of the things, too, that we have really focused on over the past 5 years is really closing that digital divide. And when I talk about the digital divide, it's not just about making sure people know about broadband and that sign up for a internet plan, but also closing the digital divide of access, expanding our footprint so that we are going to more unserved and underserved communities, and especially in Kansas as well. In the past 5 years, we have expanded to roughly about 15 communities, rural mainly communities here in the state, using our own private dollars. So not going out and looking for a grant. We decided as a commitment to our company and the family, as I said, it's led by family members. The family really decided they wanted to reinvest back into the communities that we already live and work in right here in Kansas and continue to build a broadband network in unserved communities. Part of that is we are also applying for grants. And so we have applied routinely for grants at the state level for broadband expansion. And I want to thank you for you all because you did provide a letter of support for one of our applications for the BEAD. It's what it's called, BEAD. It's the large $456 million federal program that the Kansas Office of Broadband Development has been working through and going through all those applications. So thank you. We are unsure as to when that will be announced. We are having conversations, as any provider, I'm sure, is having conversations with the Office of Broadband to determine what is the right application and the right provider for certain areas of our communities that are unserved and underserved. We all share the same goal. We want broadband to every Kansan that doesn't have it now. We also want high quality fiber broadband service to every Kansan who may have it now, and we want to increase it and get it better. So part of that too is Cox has also upgraded our infrastructure over the past several years. So everywhere that we currently serve for residential customers, you have multi-gig speeds. So just as any other provider that may be saying we have 5 gig or whatever it may be, we too provide the same quality of speeds on our current network. Again, it's fiber powered. And so over time and throughout the years, we will continue to add more fiber into our network. Our vision is to have the best people working together to solve the most pressing problems of the time. And again, that goes back to connectivity. Our social goal is 34 by 34. The idea is that to help 34 million people live more prosperous lives by 2034. And that is through connectivity, sustainability, closing that digital divide, social equity, addressing more challenges related to our inclusive communities, environmental projects, as well as community STEAM partners, promoting self-sufficiency with organizations that focus on the educational values of science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And I do have a great example of some of those partnerships that we have right here in Hutchinson. We have several digital equity programs, and I'll run through just a few of those for you so you can see that. And then what I've also done, and I'll show you, I've attached a handout so you can take that with you and share with your constituents who may have questions. But first, we have the Connect to Compete program. It provides affordable, high-speed internet plans for households that have kids in K through 12 education and who are on free or reduced lunches. So they have to qualify for that program. Therefore, they can then receive this internet option for $10 a month. We also have Connect Assist. Those are for the households that may not have kids in K through 12, but are on still lower income or fixed incomes and meeting some federal qualifications, eligibility requirements. That's $30 a month. We also have straight up internet. That is available to anyone. So don't have to qualify with a federal reduced program. This is available for $20 a month with the, and we no longer have the Affordable Connectivity Program through the feds, but it is $50 a month flat fee. And we have access to high-speed internet as well as hotspots across the nation and a modem. We also participate in PCs for People, which provides PCs for individuals who also need them as well. Again, all going back to closing that digital divide. So making sure not only we have access in terms of providing internet into your neighborhood, but we also provide computers. So Cox in Kansas. And I should say as a side note, this is the extra handout that I believe you all have, so you are welcome to look at that. We also have Cox Mobile as another opportunity that can also help close that digital divide and provide internet in your home or on the go. So Cox in Kansas, we have about 800 employees here throughout the state. We have donated more than $1 million to community organizations across the state, serving over 100 communities. Like I said, we continue to expand. Actually, I just received word in the past 2 weeks. We are on target and planning to expand to 4 additional communities in the state. Unfortunately, none here in Reno County from our own private dollars, but again, we have applied for grant opportunities here in Reno County as well. So the 4 is just private funds at this point. We could always add more, and then we hope to get some grants to be able to do that. We also have over 2,600 employee volunteer hours, and we always look for volunteer opportunities in the communities that we live and work in. So if you have an idea of an organization who needs our volunteer assistance, we're happy to do it. Mulching parks, we've done that. We've helped build parks, so continue to look for opportunities there. Here in Reno County, we have 14 employees who are based right here in Hutchinson, and they serve the area. And as I mentioned, volunteerism is incredibly important to us. And so in 2024, we volunteered in beautifying one of your parks, which we were thrilled to do here in Hutchinson, working with the city, as well as other organizations to do that. We've also contributed $35,000 in corporate sponsorships. So we support the Hutchinson Chamber of Commerce, Reno Rising Economic Development, and the Boys and Girls Club of America here in Hutchinson. And actually, I've gotten to know several of those kids here at the club through different opportunities that we've brought them into the office in Wichita. You guys have great gems. You are a gem here in Reno County. You have great kids in the area. You have great opportunities at the community college, as we saw the football team. Stratica, my daughter, has been here for a field trip and loved it. So you have some great, it's a great community. We are thrilled to be a part of it and continue to put our investment back here. Key other community investments we have awarded, so the sponsorships, corporate sponsorships are separate dollars than our Cox Charities. Cox Charities is our employee giving, so very much like the United Way. So we give, but it's our own program that we have established. So our employees give, they decide where that money is going. They awarded, since 2016, $66,000 in community and education grants just here in Reno County. I have also included an overview sheet. So if you, again, about Cox Charities, and if you know of an organization that should apply, we welcome all applications. So feel free to take that back to your office. Again, we focus on the people, building a better future for the next generation. That is what Governor James M. Cox built the company on, and that we continue today. Again, your community is our community. We put it right back into your community. Again, we are strong partners with the Boys and Girls Club here in Hutchinson, in Reno County, and thrilled to do that. Just a quick overview as to our service offerings from a Cox Communications perspective. Again, internet, video, voice, and we have Cox Mobile now. So if you are a customer on one of our plans of internet, video, or home phone, you can also be a customer of Cox Mobile as well, so that everything is done all in one bill and one opportunity. We also provide Cox Business Solutions. So if you are a business customer, you have access up to 10 gig. So residential customers, multi-gig, business customers can have up to 10 gig of fiber. We also provide a host of other solutions. Again, maximizing the other companies that we own, leveraging those solutions and innovation opportunities, and using them for our Cox business customers. So in terms of cybersecurity, I know that's a hot topic. I have included as well in your packet of information this handout, which just highlights that we're here for your business. One of the things that, as we have all seen, is cybersecurity issues when there's a breach. And so we do provide cloud services. We just did a webinar with the League of Kansas Municipalities, but happy to come in and work with you all to talk about what are the solutions that we can provide, or just brainstorm ideas of what problems or challenges you may face that we can provide some innovative solutions to. And that's our Cox business team. And on that note, I want to thank you for your commitment and your partnership, as well as Randy's partnership throughout the past several years. I will say, and I know you unfortunately had an incident over the weekend, the explosion in downtown. We did have some outages because of that. We have fiber that our plant was damaged. We have worked around the clock to get those customers that were impacted back up and running. Most of them are back up. Of course, we can't get to the area to really fix and repair our entire network that was damaged until it is cleared. We are working with the federal, with NTSB, the local power companies as well, and others to allow us back in when they deem that it is safe. But our commitment is to get all of them back up and running as soon as possible. So happy to take any questions that you all may have.
Anybody have comments or questions of Megan? Looks like you do a pretty good job. Yeah.
Well, you guys can call me anytime, and I will be happy to come and give you another presentation as you would like, or just meet with you one-on-one. So,
thank you for the update.
thank you.
The next item on our agenda would be 7D, Emergency Management 2025 Annual Update. Adam, you're up.
Good morning, Commissioners. Adam Weiss, our Emergency Management Director. In front of you today, I have a pretty lengthy report. All I really want to touch on today is the disaster process, and then I'll open it up for any questions the Commission might have. So our disaster process, I believe it's on page 4 or 5, Randy. Our disaster process, the biggest thing to remember is this is our busiest time of year. So we're getting ready to jump into wildfire season. We actually dealt with one yesterday, and then severe weather season as well. Severe Weather Awareness Week is next week, so we're going to be doing some radio shows and pushing out some information with that. But when a disaster strikes, what we're going to do is request a emergency declaration, disaster declaration from the Commission. And what that looks like is either I or Randy will call the chairperson and ask for a verbal declaration to get immediate resources to us. After that disaster declaration is approved, after things calm down and there's a regular commission meeting, we'll come back in and present to the whole commission and have the disaster declaration signed in ink. What the disaster declaration does for us is it qualifies us for state and or federal assistance and funding on the back end if we qualify for it. So we do the disaster declaration and we can start requesting things from Wichita, we can start requesting state resources. We have an outpouring of resources that come into our community. Reno County is responsible for the first approximately $290,000. Once we hit that $290,000, we can, and the state hits their $5.5 million, we can qualify for federal assistance through a disaster declaration process. We don't qualify for any sort of reimbursement unless that disaster declaration is in place. So the $290,000, we hit that, the state hits their threshold, we can get up to 75% of expenditures, the qualified expenditures, back to the county. The state usually chips in an extra 10%, so we're really looking at about 15% of the total cost of that disaster. The FMAG or Fire Management Assistant grants are something else that we've received in the past. Those thresholds are about $10,000 lower, so about $277,000 for a Fire Management Assistant grant. And what that allows us to do is when a fire is out of control and actively burning, it allows us to immediately bring in resources to fight that fire and have some sort of reimbursement back from the state and federal government. When we're requesting things from the state, with our disaster declaration in place, they generally don't charge us for any of the things we use. In recent years, we've used helicopters, we've gotten personal protective equipment, we've used state teams, we've used all kinds of state resources. We've used mutual aid from all our surrounding counties, and I would expect that to continue into this year. So that's really our disaster declaration kind of in a nutshell. It's a lot more complicated than that, but the commission's piece of that is please let us know that what we're doing, we're here to support the community, and we just want the support from the commission as well. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Any comments or questions, guys? Thank you,
Thanks,
Adam. I think our next agenda item includes the appraiser, Michael Plank. He's going to give us a presentation on how he arrives at evaluations, I think.
Well, we can definitely, it's definitely part of it. Yeah, Michael Plank, County Appraiser, with the publication of values this year coming out in the next couple of days. I asked the administrator if the commission would be interested in a briefing, so here we are. Like last year, if you'll indulge me, I wanted to begin just by going over some of the basics for anyone new who may be watching or listening or on the commission, and then do my best to answer any questions that the commission has. Everything that we do in the appraiser's office is statute driven. It's mandated by state law. So just like any other county department, the appraiser's office is a public servant. We're working for the good of the taxpayers to place fair and equitable values on all real and personal property, again, in accordance with state law. In general, county appraisers are responsible for discovering, listing, and valuing all tangible property within their jurisdiction, which for us is Reno County, with some exceptions for oil and gas, public utilities, and some forms of personal property. Our offices, county appraisal offices, must comply with Kansas statutes, Kansas law, Kansas regulations, any directives issued by the Director of Property Valuation in Topeka, and the current version of the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice, also known as USPAP, including the USPAP ethics rule. So everything our office does is statutory. We don't take any direction in appraisal practice or in setting specific values from any commission or any city council or any school district or any other taxing entity. All 105 counties in Kansas utilize the same computer-assisted mass appraisal system to value everyone in their jurisdiction in accordance with the uniformly and equally standards described in the different state valuation statutes. The common interpretation of uniform and equally simply means applying the same methodology in valuing each parcel, not necessarily ensuring everyone goes up or down the same dollar amount or the same percentage. So unlike a bank appraiser or a private appraiser, we're doing mass appraisal. We're not trying to hit some target number on any individual property like a sales price or a refinance or something like that, or to try to get a lower or a higher value for tax purposes. Again, per statute, the county appraiser's office is simply trying to determine the fair market value based on the data that we have available. We have three commonly accepted approaches to valuation, to appraisal. We have comparison sales, we have cost, and we have income. Again, per statute, the county applies all three methodologies when appropriate. And for residential properties, which I understand is rightfully the concern of most people, we rely primarily on the comparison sales method. All that's a long way of saying that appraisers are simply reporting on the market as of a specific date, in our case, the state mandated date of January 1st. It's important to remember that we are not creating the value. People are determining the value by their transactions in the marketplace. We simply have the legal responsibility to analyze those transactions and then appraise individual properties based on what we see happening in the market. For 2025, on average, we will see an increase in residential and commercial valuations in Reno County. However, the average change this year will not be as large as either of the previous 2 years. Again, for residential property, this is driven by sales. We're reporting on the market. And here in Reno County, we actually look at the last 3 years of sales activity when we do our study. So for the 2025 valuation, we're looking at sales from 2022, 2023, and 2024. Whenever a sale is recorded, we review it to determine if it is an open market transaction as defined by statute, specifically KSA 79-503A. We review the listing, we visit the property, we interview the buyer or seller or real estate agent whenever possible. Since real estate properties are valued by what is selling around them, it is vital that we get our sales data correct. While I obviously cannot predict the future, the market does appear to be leveling out the farther we get away from the COVID market of 2021. The total number of sales is down slightly from the last couple of years, but the average and median sales prices continue to increase year over year. The residential real estate market in Reno County has stayed strong despite the high interest rates, in my opinion, because of the low inventory of homes that we have. You can see that in one of those slides that I provided. It actually came from a study from Wichita State that shows that we are still, here in Reno County, we are still in a period of historically low inventory or low supply. We're currently at about 2 months supply. Equilibrium or a balanced and healthy market is anything between 4 and 6 months. A lack of available homes means higher competition for what is available, which means it is still very much a seller's market here in Reno County. This will obviously be reflected in the sales prices and then consequently in our valuations as we study the market. Sales in 2024 maintained the strong market that we saw last year in 2023, and in most areas trended slightly higher. However, 2024 sales were much higher than 2021 sales. And since we're looking at 3 years of sales, the primary driver in the increase in valuations this year is due to dropping off the 21 sales and adding in the 24 sales to our available comparisons. The result is that our values are catching up to the more recent sales. And we're always going to feel like we're playing catch up because, well, for one, we're reporting on what's already happened in the past, right? We're following the trends. And again, we're looking at what happened over the last 3 years. So an individual property value can adjust even sometimes by a significant amount, and even if nothing has changed on the property. For properties that have not had a sale or a permit and were not on our annual review list, we use an appraisal principle called an extraordinary assumption. And all that means is this is an assumption which, if found to be false, could alter the resulting conclusion. In mass appraisal, the assumption that we make is that a property has not significantly changed since our last inspection. With a field staff of 9 appraisers and a parcel count of over 35,000 here in Reno County, it's obviously not physically possible to visit every property every year, let alone do an interior inspection on every property. Statute requires appraisal staff to visit a minimum of once every 6 years, also referred to as a 17% inspection, 1 divided by 6. However, we also visit every validated sale as well as any permit that may add value, so think an addition or a basement finish, something like that. If someone disagrees with their valuation, they are more than welcome to appeal the valuation or the classification or both. An appeal should not be a complaint about taxes, however. After all, the appraiser doesn't have any authority to levy or collect taxes. An appeal is simply a statutory process that provides an opportunity to reconcile the property to its fair market value per state law. The bottom line is, could the property sell at or above the current valuation? If the answer is yes, probably not a lot that my office can do. If the answer is no, then we need the documentation that supports that opinion because, again, we're only as good as the information that we have available. There will always be anecdotal incidents of a property valuation changing by a significant amount, either up or down, in any given year. There's typically a good explanation for those. Because we are a public service, if you have questions, ask us. And we're happy to have that conversation, and we'll do our best to explain why something happened on a specific property. And as I said a few minutes ago, the housing market in 2024 remains strong overall and slightly above 2023. The housing market here in Reno County and even across Kansas is not decreasing, despite the interest rates, despite the concerns that people have. So again, before you appeal, simply ask yourself, what could I reasonably sell this property for? The annual notification of valuation will be mailed on Friday this week, February 28th. Values should be available online at some point by Monday, March 3rd. To look up a value online, you can simply Google Reno County Appraiser, pull up our website, check out our maps and parcel information page, and then click on the link for a parcel search. You can then search by address, by name, a couple different things. Official notices should begin appearing in mailboxes most likely next week, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, sometime around in there. The appeal deadline is the last day of March, so we can accept appeal requests up to 5 p.m. on Monday, March 31st. And this is a statutory deadline that I do not have the authority to change. However, if someone does miss that deadline, they still have the option to appeal with a payment under protest at the end of the year when first half tax payments become due in December. So again, one more time, we are more than happy to discuss the valuation or classification of a property in our office. What would it reasonably sell for in its current condition and use? You can't really appeal your taxes. For people who are insistent on an inability to pay property taxes, the state of Kansas does have several options for property tax relief. Information sheets about these programs are available in our office and also in the treasurer's office. And I have included this information in the packet provided to you this morning as well. The relief is offered as part of, as a rebate on income taxes. So when people ask us about that, we have to refer them, to the Salvation Army VITA program, or another local program called Beyond Barriers. It is my understanding that these organizations can assist residents in determining whether or not they qualify for any of these property tax relief programs that are offered by the state of Kansas. I don't really like talking about that part of it, the property taxes, because I've noted several times already, my charge is to simply list, classify, and value the property. But I understand it's part of the deal, so I'm happy to talk about the elephant in the room there. I know property taxes are a hot button political issue these days, and I understand that people automatically equate rising valuations with higher property taxes. And a lot of times this year we'll see headlines along the lines of county appraiser says taxes are going up next year, and I really push back on that. It's just not true. Valuations may be increasing, but the taxes haven't even been set yet. So if the issue is valuation, that it's too high, that the property could not sell for what we have it valued at, please, please, please come and talk to us. But if the issue is property taxes, then I encourage anyone listening to contact their locally elected officials if the taxes are the concern. This includes the commission, I understand that, but also city councils, school boards, any other local taxing entity. People could contact state legislators in Topeka, but keep in mind that the state of Kansas gets less than 1% of your total property tax bill. That means that 99% of your property taxes stay local. Whoever you talk to, it is going to take a discussion of ideas. Coming up with actual property tax relief plan that benefits citizens will take work. I will confidently tell you that placing a cap on valuations will not lower the property tax. Because again, all we do is valuation and classification. And just consider this easy example. Next week when values come out, if I were to cut everybody's valuation in half from what it was last year, drop it by 50%, nobody's property tax bill would be lower at the end of this year. Because again, dropping the valuations does not alter the tax dollars requested to fund our local services. And I would also ask folks to remember all the things that their property taxes support. Things like police and sheriff, district attorney, jail, community corrections, fire and emergency services, parks, public health, sanitation, schools, elections, roads and bridges, and probably a few more things that I'm forgetting. I do have a couple of community outreach events coming up. The public is invited to the Annex building right across the way tomorrow, February 27th. We'll have coffee available. We'll have a presentation that will begin around 8:30, and then following that we'll do some Q&A. I think there's a couple of other events that are in the works that we're not quite ready to announce yet, but if there are any groups out there that want to have me out for a meeting or a discussion or a presentation, more than happy to do that. Just contact my office, let me know, and we'll get that set up. So thank you for having me here to explain what our office does. I hope it was helpful, and I'm happy to stand for questions or comments that the commission has this time.
Any questions or comments, guys?
Well, I would like to tell you thank you for your information, because I've been paying property tax and taxes in the city for a ton of years. So, but when I went through your orientation for the county and went to your office, it was eye-opening, and the information has been very helpful. And it's like anything, I'm in a hobby, and if I want to sell something, it's what a person's willing to buy it for, is what I can get out of it, not necessarily what I think it's worth. So by doing the appraisal, I really appreciate that, and how you word it makes it understandable for everybody. So I do appreciate your job and what you're doing. Thank you.
Appreciate that. I don't think I mentioned, if I can just add one thing real quick, that somehow I skipped over this. One of the reasons why we feel like we're always playing catch up with the market, right, is because we're using the 3 years of sales. And I do think it's notable that in 2024, 86% of the transactions that we marked as open market transactions by the definition in statute, 86% of those sales sold above our valuation. So we're always kind of trailing behind a little bit. And it's just kind of the way it is.
I just kind of want to let everybody have a chance to hear you with regard to, and I thank you for doing this outreach.
Sure.
How is recreation land taxed? You know, we know housing is 11% basic and commercial is 25%. How's
Right.
recreational land?
So the answer is it depends, because there's not a recreational classification. So it's either residential, or it's vacant, or it's ag, depending on how we have it classified, and those are all a little bit different. Residential is 11.5%, vacant is 12%, ag is 25%, but ag is not valued at market value. Ag is valued by the state, right? So it really just depends on the usage of it and how we have it classified. So.
And the reason I ask this, and we've talked before, is I've had a few phone calls regarding people from both in-state and out-of-state who buy pasture land, and won't let any ag use be done on it. They don't maintain it. They let the evergreens grow up in it. It's fire danger. But yet they get the assumption that because it's pasture land, it's ag, it's valued on ag. And so I think there needs to be some type of division in there, because they're getting a pretty good advantage, but yet we as the county are not getting the revenue that would normally happen. And so that's why I asked that question. So there's really no way.
But in most cases, the burden of proof is on the appraiser's office to show that this is why it's valued or classified the way it is. For ag, the burden of proof is actually on the owner of the property, right? A lot of those appeals will go to BOTA, and it just kind of depends on how the board's feeling that year as to whether they classify it as ag or vacant. That may be a legislative issue that could be brought up to the local legislative delegation. Maybe there's a new classification they could put in statute. That warrants further discussion. I don't disagree with you at all.
Thank you. That is a legislative situation to me then.
I think so.
While we're on that subject, I too have gotten a lot of feedback on that. So as the present deal is, you're telling us if it's not ag, it's got to be vacant, and what's the tax rate on that?
Well, the assessment rate for vacant is 12%, but vacant is valued at a market value. If the assessment rate on ag is higher, it's twice that, right? 25%, but it's not valued at market value. It's valued at a use value, some formula at the state, and they tell us what the values are.
So we actually, like Ron's pointing out, is our legislative end, if they were to equalize this, would have to create a new category for you to
That would
work
be an
out.
idea to discuss with them for sure. Then you have the burden of proof issue too. It would be probably doable. It'd be complicated, but it's probably doable.
What is the definition of vacant, according to the appraiser?
So it would be anything that doesn't have a structure on it that is not ag. is what I'm gonna say. I've never been asked that question before, Ron.
Yeah, I mean, elaborate on that. If the property value was half, the taxes wouldn't go down.
So, right, so the quick thought exercise is if we just took the values that we had from last year, from last March, and instead of doing all of our studies and all of our stuff that we do, if we just took those values and cut everybody's value in half, how would that affect your property taxes as a owner of a property in Reno County, right? The answer is it wouldn't, because the tax dollars requested by the schools and the cities and the county, the only way the taxes go down is if the dollars requested is altered, right? So what would happen if suddenly you had half the availability of market value of which to tax, right? You're gonna have to adjust your mill levy.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm going with that thought exercise.
But you'd have to adjust the mill levy to do that.
Yeah, you'd have to adjust it.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
the same
so-
thing if I doubled values, right? So let's say I doubled values next week instead of cutting them in half. Your taxes aren't gonna double because again, the dollars requested hasn't changed, right? It hasn't even been set yet. But if everybody stays, revenue neutral, then the mill levies would be adjusted down because there's more market value out there, right?
Well, if you raise the valuation, then you have to lower the levy to the mill levy to keep it neutral.
Right, to keep it neutral.
So
Right,
if you
yeah.
cut it in half, you'd have to raise the mill levy.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
Yes.
I mean, I'm just not quite getting the math right here.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, dollars are dollars.
Yeah.
But,
Now, if everybody went up 10%, but your value doubled, then your taxes would go up, right? But that's because you were treated differently than everybody else who went up 10%, right? So more of the burden would be pressed onto you because of the increase in valuation. So there's a lot of mental gymnastics to do, I guess. That's probably not a good way to put it.
but if you lowered it, then everybody would get less, school,
Right.
library.
Yeah, if everybody's value stayed the same, but then yours went down by 50%, then your taxes would go down, right? So, yeah, and I'm not picking on you, I'm just using that as an example.
And herein lies part of the problem that you just covered with Commissioner Vincent here, of the legislature looking at capping residential properties at an X amount, they're talking 3%. Then you put an unburdened tax on other properties that are not covered under that cap. So,
Yeah,
you gotta
that's-
make X many dollars
Yeah,
regardless.
and that's
So
part of the
that's
pushback on
problem
that
with
type
that
of bill, yeah.
capping only residential.
Yes.
Guys, no further questions. Thank you, Michael.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Next thing on our agenda is a resolution to lengthen or extending the solar moratorium. I understand this to be a request.
It's my agenda item. Don Britton from Public Works is here also, if you need to speak with anything. As you commissioners know, we've kept a moratorium on solar just to make sure that we don't get applications or any confusion while we're developing the regulations. I am assured that we are getting very close to the end, but the last time we did an extension, it ended, I believe, March 1st, and so we're asking to extend it for just a little bit more additional time to complete the process. The resolution is to extend the moratorium until May 1st. We believe that we'll be done before then, and in which case we would end the moratorium earlier, but we just don't want to we want to make sure there's plenty of time, because as you guys know, we have new commissioners, there's always lots of good discussion about this, and we don't want to give ourselves not enough time to finish it. So,
Yeah.
do you have anything to add, Don? That's all this more. We're just asking to move it a little bit more into the future because we're almost done.
Well, I think that would be a good idea.
Who's needing this time? I mean,
We are.
the commission or the planning or the zoning?
The planning and zoning, didn't they come forward
Don
in
can
their
explain
meeting
that.
with, but we haven't had time to study it and understand the full implications and ask the questions before we go forward.
Yeah, Don Britton, Director of Public Works. The Planning and Zoning have sent the regulations to the County Commission for you, and so now this extension is for your benefit, not the Planning and Zoning, unless you decide to send something back, but now it's all in your plate, okay?
They completed, you guys had your hearing, was it Thursday last week, or is it?
Yes.
Yeah, so they completed, the Planning Commission completed their work on Thursday and have sent it. It wasn't in time for this agenda, so it could be on the 12th. Administrator and I've also talked about offering you guys, if you wanted to do a study session, maybe next Wednesday, to just review it all before you get to it in an agenda. That's an option, but that's up to you guys whether or not you feel like you're ready to talk about it on the 12th, or you want to discuss it in a study session before then.
I think it would be appropriate to have a study session personally. I don't know what the others think, but we definitely need a moratorium, so extend the moratorium so that we're not rushed into anything without knowing what and having an explanation by our attorney on some questions we might ask, and it's to me it'd be just good public policy to extend the moratorium and do a study session, but that's up to the board itself. With that in mind,
Did you have something? Okay.
Do you think May 1st is sufficient enough? I was looking earlier at July 1st, but just to make sure, but I was just curious.
Well, it somewhat depends on what the board wants, of course, but this has been, I believe that we said, yeah, this has been with the Planning and Zoning Commission has regs that are ready to be adopted. Because they were sent back once, we're just looking for a majority vote to approve them. So I think that May 1st, this could be finished on the 12th, as early as the 12th, to be honest. But I mean,
Yeah.
And I've said since the beginning of the moratoriums are not favored under the law. It's an emergency thing that you put in place to make sure that you don't have confusion under the regs. So we really, I've said this from the beginning of the discussion, legally, we really don't want a moratorium to last any longer than it has to, because we are burdening people's rights while we do it.
My thinking was that with the Planning and Zoning Commission just meeting once a month on the third Thursday, that in case there would be something sent back, I don't know that there will be, but that time schedule is what I was concerned with, is a meeting once a month versus us.
And I guess the thought for May 1st versus earlier was, you know, if that scenario happened, there is some time for them possibly to meet, to do something in March, yeah. As for a study session, just as staff have talked about it, you know, we have new commissioners. Every time we've ever discussed solar, there's been lots of good discussion and lots of extra questions. I think those go better in a study session, so we can just make sure every last question gets answered and everyone has education and time to then not just get answers, but then process the answers for a week before you get to an agenda. But it's up to you guys.
do I hear a motion to extend the moratorium? That's
I'll motion to extend the moratorium. What, for how long?
It's drafted to May 1st.
To May 1st.
I'll second it.
2025.
Got a motion and a second. Well, what number goes in there? We might, or do we need that in the motion, or are we good?
It's 2025-05.
05. And I must, do I get to assume that's what you guys meant?
Yep.
In your motion? All right.
And I vote yes for the next Wednesday study session.
Now, is that a separate
That-
topic?
We'll do that separate. Right now, I'd say if there's no further discussion, Cindy, please help us out.
Okay. Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Commissioner Vincent?
Yes.
Commissioner Winger?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst?
Yes.
Commissioner Bogner?
Yes. now as to Mr. Winger's comment while we're on this solar. Do I hear a motion?
What time are we talking about? I will not be available till afternoon later, till we get into April.
You know, study sessions can be whenever it's kind of a special meeting,
that
but you can
something
do
we
it
can
any
do?
day or time you want that the 5 of you guys want to do it. It doesn't have to be a Wednesday. It doesn't have to be at 9.
Yeah, I was gonna say I won't be available during the day from here on, except for meetings.
It's all right by me as long as I know what evening, and I don't
Hate to
already
do that, I
have-
just don't have time right now.
No, I know. We're, all of us are involved in other things.
But yeah, any evening, as long as we plan it, I'm game. If you're good,
The recommendation would be for it to be next week, because right now, the actual action item from the planning commission is on the March 12th agenda. So if you wanted it before then, otherwise we move it off the March 12th agenda. But if there's a time next week in the evening, a Monday or Tuesday,
Pretty open any time.
How's Tuesday affect him, though? He's out of town.
I would prefer Tuesday, if that's possible.
Yeah, Monday's the beginning of the week. You never know what's going to hit you on Monday. Tuesday sounds good, and then what time are we talking about, guys?
Well, it's pretty what times Mr. Parks can.
Well, anything after 4, probably.
5 o'clock.
It's all right by me.
5 o'clock, okay?
I appreciate you guys doing that.
Okay, with that, I take it, do we need a general consensus, or do we need or do we need a motion?
For a special meeting, it's a good idea to just put it on the record as a motion,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to move the study session to next Tuesday, 4 o'clock?
5.
I thought they said.
On the 4th.
Oh, got to turn that on? Motion to move the study session to next Tuesday at 5 o'clock.
And we're meeting here. Do I hear a second somewhere? Or otherwise
I'll second it.
All right, Cindy, help us out.
Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Commissioner Vincent?
Yes.
Commissioner Winger?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst?
Yes.
Commissioner Bogner?
Yes.
commissioners, I will say we may want to all look at the logistics. We may want to have this over at the annex because we have security and the doors will be closed for the public at 5 o'clock. So we may be better to see if the annex is available. If we can do that, we can have a door opened over there. So, okay, thank you.
Makes sense. So for the public, what will it be announced where the meeting takes place? Good. So we don't have to have that meeting place today. All right, thank you. Okay, we've got the item we pulled off the consent agenda and moved as 7H. The funding to help for the funding request to help with the golf tournament. Ron, you?
Yeah, I've been discussing that with some of the people in District 3, and I'm getting back and forth, yay and nay, and I would like a little more time to talk to a few more. Obviously, this ain't till 29, so I mean, well, some of us or all of us may not even be here, so. So I don't see the urgency, but I would like a little more time. I think another month would give me plenty of time to talk to the people that I'm wanting to talk to.
Randy,
Yeah, I did. Thank you, Ron, for pulling this off, because I had a couple of questions myself, and you kind of beat me to it. But
I don't have a tremendous problem with it, but I do want to hear some figures. I mean, the last time we had the tournament, I know we're going to have a new motel by then. A great deal of people didn't stay in town. We did have some commerce come through here, I know that. And after listening to the city-county meeting, the presentation by one of the board members from the Prairie Dunes, it was a pretty big financial burden on that institution to try to pull that off the first time, and without the help, they felt like they would have been severely burdened by that. I don't, you know, if there, I guess what I'm asking for, if could be presented, if we're going to hold this off, is I'd like to see a true ROI on what happened last time, community-wise. Whether that was an investment that brought something actually back to us as a county. A city, I'm sure they got lots of taxes off of meals and different things that happen around the community. But I personally had that question to see how that affects the county if we drop $100,000 on this to help them, if that's what their ask is. What do we see in return for that, real dollars? I mean, can we look at that from the last time and see what actually may have happened? I mean, I've heard talk about all the money that came back to the community, but nobody's ever given me some real dollars. Can you speak to that?
I'm not sure about a full ROI, but I think I put it in one of my weekly reports, but our sales tax numbers just in that month during that year, when you looked at the year before and year after, was about close to $50,000 increase just in the countywide sales tax, which is half the amount in addition to any other businesses that benefited from the extra traffic or publicity that Hutchinson, Reno County got for.
Did he project what he thought that might do for us this time, or can we actually?
Let me see if.
I know nobody knows.
I don't know if it's on.
You know,
I think that would help some peace, some consciences.
We have some people in the audience that probably could
well, I know
enlighten us a little bit. Leanne, and
here's the economic
and maybe at least they could know what Randy's asking for and Ron are asking for, if nothing else.
I'll take a stab at it. Leanne Cox, Vice President at Visit Hutch. We have done an economic impact study. It is not those data points that you see on the screen. We ran it through a state Department of Commerce model that we use for all events that we can. It was about $22 million economic impact, and that is important to note. It does not include in that $22 million the purse that the income tax will be paid by the winners. It also does not include all the hotel rooms that will be staying outside of Reno County. And I can speak to the hotels. I was here in 06 and I was here in 02. Our hotels fill up, absolutely. A lot of spectators will drive in, watch golf, drive out, but the hotel rooms are filled with players' families, with their entourages. You know, they spend a lot of money, and it's not just Thursday through Sunday. You know, they're here for a good period of well over a week. And there is a significant financial burden on Prairie Dunes to host this. But the benefit goes way beyond Reno County and the city of Hutchinson. It goes, you know, like I mentioned, hotel rooms, Salina, McPherson, Newton, Wichita, you know, at least an hour's radius, they will all benefit, you know, in that respect. The gasoline that's purchased, you know, the food, concessions on, you know, there's a whole plethora of things. And the intangible of the television coverage that Hutchinson, Reno County, and the state of Kansas will get is just beyond, you know, putting a number to it. So I know $100,000.
No, I appreciate that, and I know somebody that worked there at that time, so I kind of know some of the stuff from the inside. But I guess that publicly, I wanted this to be spoke of this morning. So if anybody wants to watch this and hear it, because I have some people as well that have questions about us funding things like this, and I don't think I'm interested in the economic development of Salina. I am here. And so I just have to be quite honest with you. I know that's the reality of what happens, but I'm saying those dollars ain't staying here, so that really doesn't impact us. But so I'm going to have to answer for it. You understand each one of these board members answer for what they do up here to constituents. And so you're right. I think in some of the things we're doing, it plays into the economic development, move on, make my move, and some of the other things that we're doing locally that would play into that very nicely to present what we have here, but I needed those questions public today.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Before you leave, I want to make a comment. There are several businesses that have expressed to me in the past, like at Fair Time and everything, where we are filling our available hotel rooms. There are hunting lodges, Airbnbs, those kind of facilities, and bed and breakfasts that are being overlooked. They know they're being overlooked because when they put their names down and they call and ask, they know they've got rooms, and people are being directed to other counties. I know it's more than this county can handle. I'm saying think of our people first, make them aware, not only at an event like this, but something like the State Fair, that there are alternatives in Reno County. These are Reno County businesses paying taxes here. They should at least be mentioned before we indicate to these people to go outside of county.
Absolutely.
If we're hosting it, we ought to get the most out of it we can for the residents and businesses of Reno County before we start promoting other areas.
And let me just clarify, we do not in any way promote Saline County, McPherson County, Sedgwick County. That's just the nature of the size of our community. There's just, you know, as Commissioner Park said, there's just no way we can keep everybody here. And we do, our number one goal is always to fill up everything here first. And for anybody that maybe is talking to you mentioning that they're not being publicized, in our visitor guide, which is our number one marketing piece that we distribute everywhere we possibly can, we can't list the VRBOs and Airbnbs. We list the bed and breakfasts, and then the hotels and motels. But we do have a section in there referencing if you're looking for VRBO or similar, click here, and that'll take you to the Hutchinson location. So we just recently, on the Visit Hutch side, in January 2025, we contracted with a company called AirDNA. It's a significant financial contribution for us, investment. But the reason we're doing that is it tracks all of the Airbnbs, VRBOs in Reno County. So for the first time, we can really take a look at who and where we have overnight accommodations beyond the traditional hotels. And we have approximately 140 within Reno County that have at least 2 bedrooms to sell. So that's a new piece that we have now at our fingertips.
So since I've heard the complaints, there are some things in place and being put in place to address those issues.
Yes, sir.
Which is a good deal. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't, I see the economic benefit in it for us. I guess that the biggest thing that I'm coming up against is are we enriching this entity? Are we giving money to enrich them? There's not been said how much money they made, and of course I'm not going to get that answer because it's really none of my business. But if they're making millions of dollars, then why do they need ours? That's the question I get asked.
Well, and as Mr. Fee said at that city-county joint meeting, there might be a perception in the community that they're making hand over fist on this, and they really are not. Their goal is to break even, and they have to deal with almost a full month of the entire country club being closed to their members because it takes so long to get this infrastructure set for this event. I know that doesn't necessarily matter. It's part of their overall picture, though. So they are not trying to get rich on this. They're just trying to break even and show off Prairie Dunes, which benefits all of us because we're then showing off the city of Hutchinson and Reno County and the rest of the city of Kansas too. We have put in an ask to the state for some funding assistance as well. So we're hopeful that we will get that as well.
So if you get your state funding, does that lessen the need for?
No. The original, I can just say, I can't speak on behalf of Prairie Dunes. The original intent was for them to get about $1 million in commitments so that they felt good about moving forward and being able to do everything the way it needs to be taken care of. I'm not aware that the state has agreed to anything as of this date. City has, we of course will financially contribute too. We have not decided what that level is, but we will have skin in the game too.
Commissioners, Alan Fee, when he did that presentation, did explain that's why they're asking now is to know what their local commitments are before they expect getting money from the state. So,
Yeah.
and that's why even though it's 2029,
Yeah.
they're hoping to know from, well, I think the city of Hutchinson did theirs last week, but, you know, hoping to know very soon so they know whether or not there's money available locally.
Where do these come out of?
Economic Development Reserve Fund.
That's what I thought.
So I've got one question. When that was here the last time, I know a bunch of people that live in the golf course living area, and they actually rented their houses out.
Yes.
So do they report that as income to the city and pay the?
No.
Okay, just was curious because I did know a few of.
And they have lodges now. They have 32 lodges out at Prairie Dunes, which they didn't have in 06 or 02. Obviously, those will be utilized as well. And honestly, I cannot answer whether homes will be used. I'm assuming the higher level players will want to do that again, but I don't know if that conversation has been had yet.
Okay, thank you.
And one other thing, if I could real quick mention, as far as like our financial situation and whatever we end up contributing to help, we will probably spread that over multiple years so it's not such a significant hit to our bottom line. And I know that when we had conversations initially with the state, Lieutenant Governor Toland, he said that was helpful for them to be able to know that that could be utilized instead of, you know, a 6-figure hit in any one budget cycle. If they could do multiple, you know, upfront payments to get to that, then Prairie Dunes has, they're fine with that too. At least they were in 06.
I probably shouldn't say this, but I have something signed by Mr. Doyle that's pretty significant. The last one.
Yep. Yep. That's cool.
It may have been the 18th flag.
Yeah. And, you know, Tiger Woods will.
By the way, if
over
you want to
50.
write me a big check, I'll share it with you. I'm just kidding. I'm teasing. No, I wouldn't get rid of it.
Yeah.
Hey, we're doing county business today.
Should I say this as a sidebar?
And Commissioner, I will say the 100,000 that's being asked is the same that was in 2006, so that amount hasn't gone up. So, and when the agreement is based on them billing us, if it's approved, you know, as Leanne said, over that time, in no less than $10,000 increments, but it
Well,
could
we
be paid
couldn't-
all this year or all in 2029. It's
We couldn't spend $100,000 and get national news here, so.
International.
Yeah,
And especially like Katie just mentioned with all the streaming that's available now,
Yeah.
the audience is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you think 2 weeks? Can you talk to people in a couple of weeks?
Yeah.
Rather than a month? I just like to get things going. If
We're going to do it, we need to be a little timely. With that in mind, I guess we're backing this up to an agenda item on table it till then, or what would be the proper way to word it?
You can do consensus, maybe just a consensus vote to table it, just not to let it hold.
Okay. Show of hands, guys.
Aye.
Thank you, by the way.
Yeah.
Appreciate you answering them questions.
Helping clear a few questions. I appreciate that. Well, with that, I'd say business session's essentially done. County administrator reports.
Included in the packet are the monthly reports for communications, health, human resources, IT, public works, solid waste, the treasurer, and youth services. Any questions on anything in the monthly reports? Okay. The only other item I had was just to let you know that Patrick and I we're setting up a meeting on March 13th at 10 a.m. at the South Hutchinson Community Center to discuss housing. So we're inviting the city staff of the cities in Reno County. I know Pretty Prairie, South Hutchinson, and Bueller have all shown interest in our NRP, but we're going to talk about the NRP, what that process is for them to opt in, and then the other housing incentives that the county commission has approved in 2024, just to kind of help inform the smaller cities. And of course, we'll still invite the city of Hutchinson if their staff and any elected officials want to be there. But let me know if any of the county commissioners, March 13th, 10 a.m. at the South Hutchinson Community Center.
I think this is one of the things that each one of us commissioners should contact our communities within our district and talk to Mr. Partington with regards to what should be talked about. But if the mayors can't make it, it's kind of like a lot of mayors are working. So it's city staff, the city clerk, whoever can make it.
Yeah.
It needs, they should give an effort if they're interested.
City staff, or if they have economic development, like in Haven and Bueller, they have economic development professionals.
I think we need to contact our people.
Yeah. We just have had some questions, and so that we can get everyone on the same page, we thought we'd do one meeting for as many people as we can at once, whether it's mayors or just city staff or whoever can come.
Do you have the resources to send out invitations to these individuals? And do they pay attention when they get them?
Yeah, we think so. We don't have a perfect list, so I don't want, if anyone doesn't get an invite explicitly, we don't want them to feel excluded. So I think if you guys know people, reach out, because we're going to send out information to people. If people have called us, we're letting them know, and if we know of people, but it's not if we don't call someone, we still want them to be welcome.
Okay, so you're asking for a combination. You'll do your end we'll do our end like Ron's.
And we have a list. There's a good number of the mayors and city clerks we have emails for. We'll contact all the cities, at least have a clerk that has a email, so they will be notified. But there may be some, depending on how often cities meet, they may not get the message, the mayors or staff.
All right, then. What was that meeting date again?
13th of March.
10 a.m.
Yeah.
That's community center.
We've all got a list of the cities as well as the mayors and city clerks and their contacts already. We've got those should be in our book. If you don't have, they can be made available.
Right. And we'll send it, staff, we'll send it anyways, but if you guys reach out to them individually, that's probably going to make it more likely they will show up.
All right, and you said, was that the Hutch Community Center? South Hutch. That's the way I thought I remembered it.
And then you might let me know if any of you are going to attend, so I know if 3 or more that will have public meeting notifications. You will, okay.
Okay. Anything else, Randy, from you?
No.
Well, at this point, then, there's no action needs to be taken. County Commission reports or comments. Start on your end, Ron.
Pretty much covered everything.
Randy, what do you have?
I don't have anything this week.
I've been making a few meetings and but nothing big that I know of that needs to be made public or anything like that. Ron, how are you?
This Friday is SCED board meeting down at SCED headquarters in Bel Air. March 7th is the meeting of K96 Corridor Development Association. If anybody wants to come, it's at noon at May's city offices, and it's the annual meeting of K96. And I want to just say congratulations to all the staff at hospice and healthcare that we received an email on for being recognized for their exceedingly outstanding patient and family care in those times. But I think they just wanted to recognize them at their.
It's appropriate, Ron.
I'd like to say thank you to the first responders for the quick action in the explosion. I mean, it did make national news again because, you know, of the previous incidents that we had. But our first responders are just amazing. But it also brought up an issue, I think, that when we talk about infrastructure and things that are going on in this community, and I know the gas service companies and utilities check and inspect their equipment and stuff, but if you have something that's aging out, it's better to fix it now than to have something that just happened. So, but I did want to say the first responders, city and county, did amazing, and no lives lost, property, but no lives. So I really am encouraged by that.
Well, I'll add.
I want to add one more thing. I forgot about this. I don't know whether you see this or not, but the Reno County Extension and the local food organizations have put out a great local food guide with pictures, names, where you can get food at, homegrown, right here. So I think that's a great guide. It's a free guide. You can pick it up.
After Richard's comment, Chief Beard was quoted in the paper as saying we were extremely lucky. I'll say lucky. He put it as intervention by divine intervention. We have a prayer before these meetings. We got lucky. Remember to say thank you, guys, because that could have been a far worse thing than it was. And with that, I think if there's no more comments, we need a recess, but do we want to do the executive sessions before the recess? Just included as all, or do we, what's?
Before where we do the motion and give enough time for everyone to leave for 2 minutes and come back and start the executive session.
All right, so we need a motion for.
I emailed them to you, but I believe that
Commissioner, I would say the first one, it says 30 minutes on here. I think we can do it in 15 minutes for the non-elected personnel.
Okay, so if we take 15 there, do we come back from that and then go to the next one?
we have to do 2 different motions. So we would do a motion for executive session for the subject matter of discussion of non-elected personnel and justification of preserving employee privacy, and we come back at 11:25. Administrator and counselor.
Then we start over another motion for the next one. Okay, we can't combine them. All right, fine. Do I hear a motion? Well, Patrick's going to read it. probably got it on my phone if I can find it.
We're asking for a motion for the board to enter an executive session until 11:30 with the county administrator and county counselor. Subject matter to be. Okay. A motion for the board to enter into recess to executive session until 11:30 a.m. with the county administrator, county counselor. The subject matter to be county employee performance of a county employee, and the justification for the executive session is to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel. It's a mouthful.
I so move what he said,
I second it.
if that's appropriate.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Roll call, Cindy, please.
Okay. Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Commissioner Vincent?
Yes.
Commissioner Winger?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst?
Yes.
Commissioner Bogner?
Yes. So with that,
appreciate you.
I don't think they'll say that. You gotta read.
All right, guys, we're reopening the session.
No action taken after the first executive session, obviously, commissioners. And then staff would ask for the board to recess into executive session until 12 o'clock with the county administrator and county counselor. The subject matter to be discussed would be the county's position in potential litigation, and the justification for the executive session is to discuss confidential legal matters which are protected by attorney-client.
Do we have a motion to?
I'll motion.
Second,
to
somebody?
go to exec session.
You got that, Cindy? Ron? I guess, Mr. Vincent, we got two Rons. Okay.
It's RV
Vote,
and RH.
if you would.
Okay. Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Commissioner Vincent?
Yes.
Commissioner Winger?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst?
Yes.
Commissioner Bugner?
Yes. So we will be in. All right, we're going to reopen the regular session after having executive sessions. We didn't take any action, and we're not going to take any action other than adjournment of our regular meeting. All those in favor, aye. 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 Looks like